They've already had a recall on Gavin Newsom, and he won by an even bigger margin.
Yeah, well, that was a long time ago before this disaster.
Wasn't that long ago.
I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt. We're talking about partnership. We're talking about restoring old salmon runs. We're talking about restoring cultures and economies. We're talking about restoring trust in reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us.
As reservoir, which holds 117 million gallons of water, is currently closed because of repairs to its cover, and it could not be used during the Palisades fire.
It's not going to happen. Gavin Newsom will remain governor.
What's going on, guys? We got to talk about the California wildfires and Gavin Newsom getting recalled. Now, he went through a recall before out there in California, and it did not go well. Unfortunately, he was, he won the vote. He went up against Larry Elder, and he won the vote. Right. So now they're trying to do that again. They're trying to strike while the iron's hot and trying to see if they can recall him again and successfully remove him, figuring maybe people will be so mad and so frustrated by the handling of this wildfire, or in this case, the multiple wildfires, that they are willing to actually vote against him this time. Now, I'm not going to get into whether or not that's going to happen and it's going to be successful yet, but I do want to talk about how they're having conditional aid. Now, the leftists have found a way to be upset and freak out and clutch their pearls again over the stupidest thing. It seems like everything they love to twist and contort into something ridiculous sounding. Oh my gosh, conditional aid. You mean we can't get a blank check to spend on woke gender ideology and illegal migrants? No. Hell no, you can't get a blank check. And Scott Jennings on CNN went head to head, toe to toe with this panel of woke leftists again, including Abby Phillip again, where effectively she's acting like this is the most horrendous and evil thing that anyone could possibly do.
House, I have to say, has said today that he would like to condition aid to California.
Yes.
Condition aid to California. Of course, you are okay with conditioning aid.
I said it the night that this started. I said on your show, there ought to be conditions on aid because
so the
obviously
next time Florida or Louisiana is dealing with a
that's
hurricane,
why I mentioned Katrina.
You want that aid to be conditional upon Washington dictating policy decisions in those states?
I want it to be conditional on knowing whether or not the state of California, in this case, is going to enact local policy decisions on forest management, on water resources management,
well, let me ask
so that it
what's
doesn't happen again.
What's wrong with that?
Let me ask that. Okay. If the Democratic-controlled House decided, you know what, in Florida, they really should not be building those houses on the water. Climate change is happening. That aid that we give you is going to be conditional upon you preventing the building of anything along in all those areas that are prone to hurricanes. You would be okay with that?
If you could pass that through the United States Congress, more power to you.
I'm just asking.
Hold on. I'm the lawyer here. We have rules like that all the time. You have to build Coney Island in Brooklyn. If you're going to build something, it's got to be built in a certain way. So you're going to get the money. It's got to be built. So it's
Arthur, thank you. So Arthur is pointing out that is very much something that Congress could do. Would you be okay with that?
I am not for a blank check to a state that has clearly failed and doesn't know how to manage fires. I would like to see a partnership between the state and Washington so that whatever money is being spent. Look, I don't live in California.
So now we're talking about a partnership.
But if you want us to send you billions upon billions of dollars, we need to have some assurances that you're not going to flush it the way you maybe have flushed it.
People don't have homes, and
this is the problem.
I about had it up to here with Abby Phillip. I see why she wasn't really, I guess, as talkative. Even though she's a TV host, she was kind of more on the quieter side. She kind of let a lot of other people do the talking. The more I hear from Abby Phillip, the more I feel like she is a deranged leftist lunatic, and her brain barely works, at least as it relates to these topics that are covered on the show. Because if you got people who won't even acknowledge that there are problems with the water, that they are not doing controlled burns, they're not doing proper forest management, right? They're hiring people based off of, DEI as the focus. Every time you look, all the people in the top positions as it relates to this is a bunch of women and a bunch of LGBTQ women at that. So it's not even just straight women. So yes, they are having their priorities in the wrong place. Gavin Newsom didn't fill up this reservoir. He claimed he did. He lied about it.
And reservoirs, the reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California, that mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate.
Flashback.
And reservoirs, the reservoirs are completely full.
If you got people who you know are going to lie and never address the real problems, then why would you just give them a blank check where you know they're going to spend it on illegal migrants, woke gender ideology stuff, a bunch of stuff related to climate change, which is the main thing they keep blaming us on? They're not going to address the real problems. In my opinion, they get zero aid. You heard that right. Zero. Trump gets in office, we're not giving you nothing. I apologize to my folks out there in California who are impacted by this, and you might feel like you need help, but we can't give money to a state and you don't know how the hell they're going to use the money. They're probably not going to use it to really help you at all. Like, that's my point. And for the record, California has money. Why don't you send a bunch of these illegal migrants home? Like, they're spending billions per year on illegal migrants.
But the thing is, for sanctuary cities and states, they complain about the cost, but they continue to add services. I want to show you California. As of yesterday, California has added a health care benefit for migrants. They are now going to extend free health care to migrants between the ages of 26 and 49. That's going to cover 700,000 additional people and cost the state $2.6 billion each year. Now, that's added onto that's added onto California's deficit, which is already $68 billion.
Send some of them home, and then you'll have more money to take care of these fires, or just don't get in Donald Trump's way and the new borders are, Tom Homan, and then you'll have plenty of extra money. Okay, cut back on some of the green new scam stuff. There's all kinds of stuff you can do in budgeting to make sure that you have the money out locally on a state level in California. What do you need federal funds for? They're just gonna waste it on a bunch of nonsense. So I'm in agreement with withholding the funds, regardless of what woke, Trump deranged, radical leftists like Abby Phillip and her clan of goons think. Now, I want to go ahead and react to Jessica Tarlov of the Five being her usual despicable self, blaming everything on Republicans, just being adversarial. Like, I'm pretty sure that some producer somewhere told her, hey, this is your role. Be that. Okay, just be a leftist tool, a puppet. And she does a great job at that. So without further ado, let's get into it.
What do you think that the chances are of a recall happening?
Well, they've already had a recall on Gavin Newsom, and he won by an even bigger margin.
Yeah, well, that was a long time ago before this disaster.
Wasn't that long ago. Listen, I understand this. We all have pipe dreams in life. Like, California is going to go red. It's not going to happen. Gavin Newsom will remain governor. And I actually haven't seen that much emphasis on a Newsom recall. I think Karen Bass is in a lot more trouble than Gavin Newsom is in terms of.
So I actually agree with Tarlov. I think Newsom is like embedded into the woke California DNA. Karen Bass, since she's a little bit closer to the issue, she might be in more trouble. I don't know. It's hard to say, but in my opinion, either one of them is going to step down. And is a recall going to be successful? I mean, even if they get it to where the citizens can vote on it again, I doubt they're going to actually be able to successfully remove Newsom and Bass from office, regardless of how upset people like me and many others are, because a lot of these people have already drunk the Kool-Aid.
Now, to your point about that strings need to be attached to this, I have never heard from anybody who's advocating for strings to be attached to aid say this about any other natural disaster. And good on
DeSantis usually does a pretty good job.
Really? Okay. Well, things have happened other places. Like, let's talk about Louisiana. There's been $120 billion in aid spent on Louisiana in the last 2 decades. Have you ever said anything about Louisiana?
Louisiana doesn't have a history
Don't try to justify
misusing funds to the level of Democrats in California.
So, for the record, I don't know why they're playing so coy here. For the record, whenever money is distributed, they're not necessarily like contractual agreements on how the money is spent, but there is actual agreement like, hey, I want you to spend the money on this to, like, if you're rebuilding something, like, I want you to spend a certain amount on these things, like, to prevent certain types of disasters or to more easily respond to the disaster. So it's not out of the ordinary. They act like these people like never talk to each other. They're just like, write out a check, here you go. Like, no, that's not what happened. So guys, this is completely 100% fake outrage.
I think we should look under the hood of Louisiana for a second. Tom Tillis, to his credit,
when's the last time something even happened to Louisiana? I mean, I know there was like a hurricane. It wasn't even that bad, right? Like, I remember obviously Katrina. I was personally impacted by that. But since then, there hasn't been anything that's been like extraordinarily devastating overall, especially compared to these wildfires where they literally wiped out, what, like 30,000 plus acres of people's houses and homes.
$24 billion on a train to nowhere.
Tom Tillis, North Carolina, said we need to treat everyone the same that we treated the people of Western North Carolina.
You know, but
Rick
at some
Scott said
point,
that as
if
well.
you are delinquent and derelict in protecting
because you want to make a
people-
partisan point, and
No,
because
I don't want to
Donald
make
Trump
a partisan
hates
point.
Gavin, really?
Jessica, will you? I don't want to make a partisan point. I want to say this: if you can't protect the people of California, where you know fires are coming, where you know the fires
How
are
about this
burning
one,
for
then?
years, and you don't even know if a reservoir is
What about-
empty, you can't even get water pressure out of a fire hydrant, you can't do any forestry management, then damn, at some point you got to pay for it, not the rest of us.
Okay, what about when the grid froze in Texas in 2021? Something that they've been warned about. All right, what? Governor Abbott, I didn't hear anything like Governor Abbott doesn't deserve any of our help. I mean, Ted Cruz went to Cancun, which is a whole other
How
story.
about the money that the state taxpayers of Texas paid in order to protect the border, which was a federal government expense?
$400 billion out from federal taxes out of California. They get nothing.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Man, this lady is the greatest propagandist I've ever seen. I really feel like Tarlov doesn't belong in journalism. I mean, this is a straight up Democrat propagandist. Even on ABC fake news, they do a decent job of trying to pretend like they're neutral, but Tarlov is clearly biased. Every single thing related to Democrats, she defends every single time, no matter what. Anything related to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, any local mayors or governors, congressmen and women, she defends all of them if they say that they are Democrat. It is insane. And anything related to Republicans, she is heavily critical about. I've never seen anything like it, but I 100% agree that yes, there should be strings attached. It should be very forceful because these people are not trustworthy. They're not even admitting there's things that they could have done better. They're just saying, climate change. Like, you can't trust these people with the money. They're just going to blow it on some stuff that's not even going to fix the dang problem. So I'm 100% in agreement, and whatever deal, whatever agreement that Joe Biden set up already, I'm hoping that Trump can, reverse that, and we can make sure that the right thing is done to actually protect the people out there in California, get them aid that's going to be used properly. But those are just my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
Condition aid to California.
Yes.
Condition aid to California.
Of course, California is not the way it used to be, where it went up 6 points for Donald Trump. It went down 6 points for Kamala.
I am not for a blank check to a state that has clearly failed and doesn't know how to manage fire.